What's going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Saturday, October 4th, 2025, and we are back with another weekly recap here on the Touring Your Rain Reloaded channel. If you have not done so already, please be sure to go ahead and hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. If you are new to the channel, I'm glad that you are here. Hit the bell twice to be notified whenever I upload a new video or go live. I don't know where everybody is at. I don't know why it says I only got 8 people watching. That is crazy. I don't know if the notifications are that bad, or did I say something to piss somebody off where it's only 8 people in here, but we're going to carry on as if it was 80 people in here. But that's crazy. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's because I'm going live at 12, even though I announced I was going live at 12 on the community tab yesterday because I wasn't going to be able to go live at 4, but it is what it is. But shout out to everybody that is here so far. We got Miss Nisi, we got SD Johnson, Raging Woody, Cynthia, KG, RJ the gamer, Rokumuro, and that is it so far. Yeah, it's only 10 people in here. That's crazy. That is insane. That is wild. But I think it's probably doing that thing again per usual. I don't know what that's all about, but we're gonna carry on regardless. KG said they're messing with the sector again. It's holiday time. What, you talking about Halloween? I suppose. But like I said, we're going to carry on as if it's just regular. It is what it is. But anyway, y'all, how are y'all doing? Regardless of that, how is everybody doing out there who is listening in the chat? Oh, it just jumped to 14. But anyway, weekly recap this week. A lot of stuff went on this week. And we're going to cover as much as we possibly can. Y'all see some of the topics are in the title, but there are also some things that I couldn't squeeze in the title as what we're going to discuss and go over. KG said plus the 4. Yeah. Yep. I'm very well aware of that. But let's go ahead and not waste any time and go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to discuss today is the obvious. So I know some of you may or may not have been following this trial, but it is what it is. Diddy has been sentenced to more than 4 years in prison for his crimes. Now, some people out there are upset about this because they feel he should have gotten way more time than he actually received. Y'all let me know if y'all think that he should have gotten way more time, but let's go ahead and get into this article. It says Sean Diddy Combs was sentenced to just over 4 years in prison on Friday after being convicted of transporting women to participate in drug-fueled sex marathons. In July, a jury found Combs guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution related to his former girlfriend Cassie Ventura and a victim who testified under the pseudonym Jane. Judge Arun Subramanian, forgive me if I mispronounced the last name. Handed down the sentence in Manhattan federal court, Combs faced a maximum of 20 years in prison. Federal prosecutors asked for a sentence of more than 11 years in prison and to impose the maximum fine of $500,000. The defense sought a sentence of no more than 14 months in prison. Combs was sentenced to 50 months, which is 4 years and 2 months behind bars. The judge also imposed a $500,000 fine and ordered 5 years of supervised release once Combs leaves prison. The judge told the court on Friday that a substantial sentence was needed to send a message to abusers and victims alike that exploitation and violence against women is met with real accountability. The prosecution, defense lawyers, and Combs himself, as well as members of his family, addressed the court on Friday. Combs called his actions disgusting, shameful, and sick and asked the judge for mercy. The judge said that because Combs went on to assault Jane after he assaulted Ventura, the court is not assured that if released, these crimes will not be committed again. The judge concluded to his sentencing by addressing the women who had testified in court. To Ms. Ventura and the other brave survivors that came forward, I want to say first, we heard you. The judge said, I am proud of you for coming to the court to tell the world about what really happened. So that's it right there. So this case has now been put to rest. He's getting 4 years behind bars. Ms. Nisi said, translation, the dominant society attitude is we finally got that nigga. Yeah, at this point, even if they didn't get the amount of times that they wanted to get him on, they got him on something, and for them, that was probably enough. Laverne said, hell no, not one thing was proven. Honestly, if they were having drug parties, that's their business. Danny Masterson was out violating women, but that case got no attention. They can miss me with that. You're right. The Danny Masterson case didn't really get that much attention because I talked about it maybe 2 times, and that's only because I only heard about it 2 times. But that story didn't really get out there. Then you had the former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, which is named Mike Jeffries. You know, they gave him so much leeway after what he did, and that guy had years on top of years under his belt of what he was doing with those models for his company. Now you don't hear about much of him anymore. I think the last update that came out about Mike Jeffries was back in May, when they said, oh, he's too, his health is so bad that he can't stand trial or something. Excuse me, or some BS like that. Imra, King of Kings, what's going on with you? Decane, the bad guy, said that trial was a farce and a shakedown. What's going on, S. White? Laverne said there's selective outrage and fake holier than bullshit. I bet that judge would never call his accusers brave. Right. But he got 4 years and 2 months, which is way less than what they were going for. So now he just got to knock those 4 years and 2 months out, and then he'll be a free man. So that was that story right there. I wanted to start off with that because that was one of the more recent stories that has, of course, it was a big story floating around. The trial happened over the summer, and now it's pretty much come to a close. Allison, what's going on? She said, Allison said she got notified. I appreciate you, because now it is a whopping 26 people in here. Shout out to all 26 of y'all, or 28, whether y'all are in the chat commenting or if y'all lurking. I'm glad that y'all are here. Let's move on now to the next story. This story right here pissed me the hell off. Michigan mom says 11-year-old son was expelled after dismantling classmates' loaded gun at school. Imagine your son helped prevent a mass shooting from happening, and your son is the one that faces the goddamn consequences. Let's check this out.
What am I to do? He's 11 years old, 7th grade. Never been in trouble before.
A Lansing mom is pleading for her son to be reinstated in school after she says he was expelled for possession of a weapon.
They kicked him out of school for the whole year. Online schools are honoring their decision, nor did they provide us a different resource or a different avenue to go.
Savitra McClurkin says her son is being punished for disarming and dismantling a gun that another student brought to the Dwight Rich School of the Arts back in May, and for not speaking up about it right away.
He didn't want to implicate himself in it, nor did he want to tell on the person that actually brought the firearm. because he knows firearms aren't supposed to be in school.
He was able to disarm and disassemble the gun because of his hunting background. McClurkin says in the moment, her son was scared and thought he was helping the other students around him.
It's devastating because he's a bright kid, and all he wants to do is be a kid. And as a parent, I feel like I may be more devastated than him.
At Thursday night's board meeting, the Lansing School District declined to comment on the issue, even after McClurkin took the stand during public comment.
They are setting my child up for failure. They're setting him up to be a statistic. And I've been doing everything in my will and my power to keep him from that. After 180 days, they may or may not reinstate him. So then what?
All right, so you heard that right there, and that pissed me off. Like I said, imagine you are the one that prevented a mass shooting from occurring, and you get kicked out of school because allegedly you didn't speak up fast enough. I feel like that was a double-edged sword right there. Because I feel like if he would have spoke up, they would have had something to say. And if he didn't speak up like they claim he did, and they still had something to say, and then something to say and do, they went ahead and expelled the person. Y'all, this is a backward ass nation that we're living in. It really is. Of course not, KG. You're not going to hear no black conservatives talk about this. If they are not getting the marching orders from Mammy and Pappy, they're not going to talk about this. As a matter of fact, for some of y'all, this may be your first time hearing about this story, unless you live in the state of Michigan and you heard about it on a local news affiliate. Kudos to the boy for having hunting training to know how to disarm that gun. Kudos to his mother. But that's some BS. So what that says to me is y'all wanted something to happen. Y'all wanted something to pop off. That's fine, because guess what? If something were to pop off, I'm almost guaranteeing that it was probably another PC kid. Because notice, they didn't tell you. We know about the kid who got expelled for disarming the kid who had the gun, but we don't know about the kid that brought the gun to school that was planning to shoot up the school. Notice that. We don't know what this kid looks like. We don't know the kid's name. But we know what this kid's name is, and we know what this kid looks like. KG said, remember how some of them folks got mad at the parents in Uvalde? Yeah. Instead of getting mad at the cops. So in my opinion, this would for me, just based on what I just said, that would fall under the category of Operation Protect the White Boy. Until we find out, if we ever find out the identity of the kid that brought the gun to school, we're going to just honorary label that person as PC, considering all the stuff that has been going on in the last month. But yeah, that's messed up. That's messed up. And it should get way more media attention, and hopefully this mother gets the help that she can, all the help that she can get and receive. All right, y'all. So that's that story right here, and we're moving right along. More BS. Listen to this. Black man targeted in racist attack says South Carolina needs a hate crime law. Well, we've been saying that there needs to be an anti-black hate crime law on the books for God knows how long, on a federal level. Jarvis McKenzie says he was shot at by a white man in a car with a rifle while waiting to go to work. You know that work, the same thing that they try to tell black people we don't do or don't do enough of. This guy was on his way to work and he was shot at. A black man from South Carolina is calling for hate crime laws to be enacted in the state, which is crazy when you think about it, because if anything, South Carolina should have had hate crime laws on the books going back to what happened with Dylan Roof 10 years ago. So you mean to tell me there's still no hate crime laws on the books even after what was clearly an anti-black hate crime? Jarvis McKenzie, they said that South Carolina is one of only 2 states in the U.S. that does not have a hate crime law. Jarvis McKenzie said that on July 17th, while waiting to go to work, a white man in a car picked up a rifle, fired over his head, and shouted, "You better get to running, boy." According to the Associated Press, McKenzie reportedly escaped behind a brick wall, and police later arrested Jonathan Feckle, age 34, in the shooting. Wyoming is the only other state that does not have a hate crime law. Richland County, where McKenzie lives, does have its own hate crime legislation, as do more than 20 local governments in South Carolina. But local statutes are limited to misdemeanors with a maximum 1-month sentence. That law was used to charge Feckle, making him reportedly the first person arrested under the county's hate crime ordinance. Feckle was also charged with assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature and possession of a weapon during a violent crime. The Richland County Sheriff's Department alleged that following the arrest of Feckle, admitted he fired because of the man's race. "So I went down there and I seen a man standing in the bushes," he reportedly said. "It was a black man in a white shirt just standing out there at 4 a.m, and I saw him there and he was by himself. So I was really going to do something at first. Well, I was going to shoot at him. I was going to shoot at him." So he just admitted to you right there that he wanted to kill this man because he was black. But you got people like Tim Scott, who's the senator of South Carolina, saying that America's not a racist country. Meanwhile, what just happened in your state? If you could pull your head out of Trump's ass for 2.5 seconds, you would know what the hell is going on in your own state. His lawyer could not immediately be reached for comment. "It's heartbreaking to know that I get up every morning. I stand there not knowing if he had seen me before," McKenzie reportedly said, and called for the inaction of a statewide law. Many localities, including Richland County, have put forth their own hate crime laws in order to push South Carolina Senate to vote on proposed legislation that would impose more serious penalties on perpetrators of crimes motivated by victim race, ethnicity, religion, gender, or sexual orientation. The Senate, aka where Tim Scott is at. So for those down there in South Carolina who want to know why you don't have a hate crime law in the books yet, there you go. And speaking of South Carolina, I have a person in the chat who's from South Carolina. Shout out to RBJ from South Carolina. RBJ, let me know. Did you hear about this? Are you aware of this? The bill, which could result in years of additional prison time, has been backed by survivors of the Charleston, South Carolina church massacre of 9 people. South Carolina business leaders also pushed the legislation after George Floyd's 2020 killing in Minneapolis police, which prompted outcry across the U.S. in demands for ending systemic racism. South Carolina's House approved the bill in 2021, but it has since languished in the Republican-led state Senate, which refuses to vote on it. The same... Y'all, I don't know what the people in South Carolina got to do, but y'all got to get Tim Scott up out of there. Y'all got to get him out of there. That's why South Carolina does not have that law on the books. He has the final say. Mahako Tim is very useless. Always has been. Sybil, I see you're stuck on the 1 month part 2. That blew my mind. 1 month. That is a load of crap. Let's move from South Carolina, y'all, and let's head on over to Texas. And this is a story right here, not this specific story right here, but I meant to actually do this as a live back in June when I first learned about what was going on. So Houston has, there is belief that there is a serial killer on the loose out down there in Houston. I don't know if I have anybody in Texas in the chat right now, but apparently there is a serial killer allegedly on the loose down there in Houston, in the Houston area, because these bodies are starting to pile up and they're all piling up in the same area. So they're believing that it's the same person. But the recent one that has come out was about this young lady, her name is Jade McKissic, and she's a young black woman. And it says more details released on University of Houston student later found deceased. And this is her picture right here, in case y'all never seen her, what she looks like. It says initially 20-year-old Jade McKissic was reported as a missing person. Reports say she was last seen on September 11th, leaving the 3700 block of North McGregor Way. Houston police confirmed with Fox 26 that McKissic was found deceased on Monday, September 15th in Brays Bayou. Jade McKissic was a student at the University of Houston. According to the Cougar, she was a junior majoring in strategic communications and advertising. In a letter sent to students, McKissic was described by the university as a campus resident and student employee and a friend to many in our community. Before she went missing, Houston police say McKissic had spent the evening visiting local bars with friends. Allegedly, McKissic left the bar by herself, leaving her cell phone behind. She then went to a nearby gas station to buy a drink. Police say McKissic was seen leaving the gas station alone and was walking towards Brays Bayou near Scott Street and McGregor Way. On September 15th, McKissic's body was reportedly found about 2.5 miles away in the bayou in the 4900 block of Spur 5. According to Houston police, an autopsy showed no signs of trauma or foul play. We not about to do this again. It said McKissic's cause of death is being determined by medical examiners. Police will investigate based on the examiner's results. I hope they don't try to do the whole, oh, she took her own life thing, because you know they'll try it. Just saying. But yeah, back in June, there was a story that went out where a bunch of people just went missing and they found their bodies in water and all types of stuff. And it was in Houston. It was a whole bunch of them. And some of them there were there for weeks. I'm mad at myself that I didn't do a live about that. And I almost did, but I backed out of it. But if y'all go look it up, just like type in Houston serial killer or something along those lines, and you'll find out more about what it is that I'm referring to. But RIP to this young lady, and hopefully her family gets the rightful justice, because whatever they're trying to imply, I don't believe it. All right, let's move on now to this story right here. And this is one of the stories right here that I really wanted to talk about today. I might even clip it and upload it as its own separate commentary. Ryan Walters. So if y'all don't know who Ryan Walters is, he is, or at least he was. Hold on. Wait a minute. Shout out to Stolen Ancestors for the $100 super chat. Shout out to you. Make sure y'all put some 100s in the chat for Stolen Ancestors. They said good morning. Well, I'm assuming y'all probably on the West Coast, but good morning to you. Family, love y'all. Appreciate it. Appreciate you. But Ryan Walters was the superintendent for the state of Oklahoma. I want y'all to put a pin in that statement. But let's read what Ryan put out there. Ryan said, I am very excited to announce a partnership with TPUSA to establish chapters in all, he put all in all caps too, Oklahoma high schools. Radical leftist teachers unions have dominated classrooms for far too long, and we are taking them back. He posted this on September 23rd, 2025. So let's see what he's going to say in this video.
I'm excited to announce today that every Oklahoma high school will have a Turning Point USA chapter. We have seen the outpouring from parents, teachers, and students that want to be engaged in the meaningful work going on at Turning Point. They want their young people to be engaged in a process that understands free speech, open engagement, dialogue about American greatness, a dialogue around American values. We're so excited to partner with Turning Point USA with this initiative. For far too long, we have seen radical leftists with the teachers union dominate classrooms and push woke indoctrination on our kids. They fight parents' rights. they push parents out of the classroom, and they lie to our kids about American history. What we're going to continue to do is make sure that our kids understand American greatness, engage in civic dialogue, and have that open discussion. We will continue to do all that we can to make sure Oklahoma students have the best education possible.
It's a reason why I told y'all to put a pin in this right here. The pin hasn't been released yet, but it's going to be in a little bit. Pay attention to what he said right there at the end about Oklahoma schools having the best education possible. Hold on to that. Let's go to this article right here. It's a reason why I said he was the superintendent of Oklahoma schools, because according to this article, Oklahoma State superintendent who ordered schools to teach the Bible resigns to lead anti-teachers union group. So you're the superintendent of schools for these. You're the superintendent of schools for the state of Oklahoma, yet you want to go against the same people that was once working for you or was your employee, so to speak, to do the whole indoctrination thing. Okay, let's get into it. Oklahoma Superintendent Ryan Walters announced Wednesday that he would step down from his role overseeing, interesting choice of words, the state schools to lead the conservative group Teacher Freedom Alliance, saying, "We're going to destroy the teachers union." The announcement from Walters, a conservative Republican who pushed to incorporate teaching about the Bible into public school classrooms, caps off a contentious tenure marked by a willingness to embrace culture war issues. "We have seen the teachers union use money and power to corrupt our schools, to undermine our schools," Walters said on the show Fox News at Night on Wednesday. "We are one of the biggest grassroots organizations in the country. We will build an army of teachers to defeat the teachers union once and for all." Teacher Freedom Alliance confirmed Walters' new role as CEO, saying it in a post to X that he fearlessly fights the, quote, woke liberal union mob. State Attorney General Gentner Drummond, a Republican, slammed Walters in a statement that after the announcement, saying in a post to X that Walters' appointment as superintendent led to a stream of never-ending scandal and political drama, and calling him an embarrassment to our state. "It's time for a state superintendent of public instruction who will actually focus on quality instruction in our public schools." Randy Weingarten, the president of American Federation of Teachers, said in a statement that today is a good day for Oklahoma kids. "Any educator worth their salt understands it's impossible to educate students if you don't support the teachers. Walters didn't do that in Oklahoma, and now at a time we need to bring the country together, he's trying to export his divisive rhetoric nationally." As the state's top education official, Walters generated controversy for ordering schools to include the Bible in the curriculum and pushing to require that families prove their U.S. citizenship in order to enroll their children into public schools. But he's on the video talking about indoctrination. He's literally doing that right now, or was trying to do that. I'm telling you, that double speak is something else. Just days ago, he announced a partnership with Turning Point USA, vowing that high schools in the state would have chapters of the conservative group co-founded by conservative activist Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated earlier this month. Walters said in his announcement video on X that, quote, "radical leftists with the teachers union dominate classrooms and push woke indoctrination on our kids." Details of the initiative were not immediately made clear. Walters was sworn in as state superintendent in January 2023, and in his first few months in office, he called for prayer in schools and hanging the 10 commandments in classrooms in public schools. Walter has said he wanted to put God back in schools. How many times have we heard that? And called the separation of church and state a myth. Last summer, a sheriff's office investigated an alleged incident at the State Board of Education meeting in which board members reported they saw images of naked women on a television screen in Walters' office, according to the Oklahoman. Walters called the board members' accounts desperate lies. An Oklahoma County prosecutor declined to file criminal charges earlier this month. and Walters did not answer questions in a video posted to X by a reporter with the Fox affiliate KOKH about when his superintendent role would end or his message to Oklahomans about leaving the position. This guy is a true and utter waste of space. I think that's putting it lightly. And shout out to Zaina for the 5. They said, OMG finally caught a live piece, Torrin. I appreciate you. Now let's get to the pin moment. Because again, this guy was the superintendent of schools for the state of Oklahoma. But then when I went and did a little bit of research, I wanted to know, where did Oklahoma rank as far as education in their schools? And the results are abysmal. So what I did was I went over to ChatGPT and I just asked them, what are the bottom ranking schools in the entire nation? And what I found might surprise some of you, and it may not, but something I found about all of these schools, or rather all of these states, they all have one thing in common, but we'll work our way to that. Bottom ranking states in education. Number 1, Miss Nisi, I don't know if you're still in here. West Virginia, often ranked last or near last for educational attainment. Low share of adults with college degrees, along with weaker quality metrics. Number 2, Mississippi, consistently low in high school diploma rates, college degree attainment, and test scores. Number 3, Louisiana, similarly and low in several categories, especially K through 12 performance and adult education levels. Arkansas, often near the bottom in both educational attainment and quality of education. Number 5, Alabama, low ranks in college degree attainment and other education quality metrics. Number 6, Oklahoma, the state that Ryan Walters was once the superintendent of, shows up as one of the states with significant challenges in education metrics. Number 7, Nevada, often among the bottom of school quality and student outcomes. And number 8, Kentucky, typically in the lower tier in national rankings of education quality and attainment. And it says, the thing that all of these schools have in common is every last one of them are red states with the exception of one. And that one is Nevada. The reason why Nevada is the exception is because it is a swing state. It goes back and forth between red and blue. But as you can see, West Virginia, red. Mississippi, red. Louisiana, red. Arkansas, red. Oklahoma, red. Kentucky, red. Nevada, swing state. And one thing that you'll find, while they love to talk about all these blue states and everything like that, they never bring up how education is absolutely horrific in these red states. And that's across the board, because when I was looking it up, it says states that rank consistently lowest in education are mostly Republican leaning red states. So he's up there trying to do the indoctrination thing with TPUSA. Meanwhile, his state ranks, I think Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken, ranked pretty much near the bottom of all of these states. Like they are like, I think at 50. But you want to bring in TPUSA into your high schools. His priorities are very lopsided. But hey, that's what he was trying to get. But he ended up resigning, and now he's on to his next grift. Before I go on to the next topic, let me see what y'all talking about in the chat. Sybil said woke indoctrination, so the truth is indoctrination. Exactly. RBJ said facts. SD Johnson said they're trying to open themselves up for Fat Boy Prager. Sybil said he is a waste of skin. Cosmo said I got into a verbal dispute with Alabama Drake fan. They should be number 3. Jerome said, where would Texas be? And what about Florida? I'm not entirely sure where they rank. Because this, when I looked it up, it was only going with the bottom ranking, and these were the 8 bottom ranking schools in education. KG said football is king. And I noticed that when they do a lot of states that are like heavy sports states, their education is trash. RBJC didn't see the story? Well, you're seeing it now. Miss Nisa, I told you previously that West Virginia's a son. Oh, you ain't got, listen, Miss Nisa, you ain't got to tell me. I did a whole series on it for nearly a year, over a year. And West Virginia was definitely in that list. Yeah, Texas and Florida are red states. But I just wanted to share that because I said I couldn't wait to bring this up with y'all today. All right, y'all. So let me go ahead and go to the next tab. Now, this story right here, I think we are all familiar with. The Dallas ICE shooter, Joshua John, wanted to cause terror according to handwritten notes. Let's see what they're talking about in here. After they go through this ad. I thought this story was crazy, mainly because of who ended up getting hurt in the process.
Say evidence shows the ICE facility shooter put a lot of planning into the deadly attack, but ultimately missed his intended targets. Hello and welcome in, everybody. I'm Casey Stiegel.
Hello, everybody. I'm Heather Hayes. So FBI officials say 29-year-old Joshua Yon left behind handwritten notes saying he wanted to terrorize ICE employees and interfere with their work. No agents were hurt, but one person in ICE custody was killed. 2 other detainees critically wounded. Authorities are still analyzing devices and data confiscated from addresses connected to him. Fox 4's Sean Rabb joining us now in studio with more on this. Sean.
Yeah, and we learned an awful lot about his motive from federal officials today, that Joshua Yon's anger and hatred was targeted at ICE agents.
What he did is the very definition of terrorism.
Acting U.S. Attorney in North Texas, Nancy Larson, calls the shooting at the ICE processing facility domestic terrorism. The shooter, Joshua Yon, not an immigrant, a U.S. citizen, who opened fire on that facility Wednesday morning, injuring 3 detainees who were restrained and in a transport van when they were hit by bullets from that legally obtained rifle Yon got in August. He silenced his own voice with a self-inflicted gunshot wound, but still speaks through notes FBI agents collected in searches of properties connected to Yon in Durant, Oklahoma, and Fairview in Collin County.
First, I want to point out that one of these notes or papers, the sniper explicitly states, yes, it was just me. That statement appears to be correct at this point in the investigation. Notably, these loose notes included a game plan of the attack and target areas at the facility. He called the ICE employees people showing up to collect a dirty paycheck. He wrote that he intended to maximize lethality against ICE personnel and to maximize property damage at the facility.
Larson says Yon, who they believe acted alone, did not intend to shoot any detainees.
Yon specifically intended to kill ICE agents. He fired at transport vehicles carrying ICE personnel, federal agents, and detainees.
But it was 3 detainees restrained and in a transport van who were shot, 1 dying, 2 critically wounded, and that his goal was to maximize injury against ICE personnel and property damage to the processing center.
Evidently, a fair amount of planning, a fair amount of research, a fair amount of hostility toward ICE agents.
Former U.S. Attorney Paul Coggins says the Department of Justice, FBI especially, have to keep digging to get to the root, how Joshua Yon was radically turned into a domestic terrorist.
It's far more terrifying than international terrorism, and it's taken a far greater toll on our country than international terrorism.
So the investigation continues. While right now the thinking is that Yon acted alone, the investigation is far from over. Now the investigation focuses on how he got to this place where he turned to violence.
All right, Sean Rabb in studio. Thank you much.
All right, so y'all just heard that right there. And what makes this story so crazy is that this person, Joshua Yon, is anti-ICE. So his targets were ICE agents. Meanwhile, when he got there, he ended up hitting 3 targets, killing one of them, and not one of them were the targets that he was supposed to be going after. So it's like that was a failed mission on his part 3 times. Like, how did you, if your target was ICE agents, how did you not know the difference between them and the detainees? or somebody who was working in there. What's going on, Denise? Exactly, Kane, the bad guy. Apparently he might have needed some goggles or some bifocals or something, because his vision wasn't that great if you did not hit your intended target 3 times that you fired. So you went on this crusade for nothing. And now you locked up. Some people, I swear, it is some people out here. But let's move on to the next story. Speaking of shooting, because it seems to be a lot of those going around, what we know about the man charged with the mass shooting at a Southport bar that killed 3 people? Let's get into this.
A chilling realization in court today after this deadly mass shooting in Southport over the weekend. So not only do prosecutors believe that this shooting was premeditated, but they think another group may have been targeted the night before until someone inadvertently intervened. They say the suspect, Nigel Edge, pulled up to that same boat dock Friday night with his boat lights off, but when another boat arrived, he turned around and left. They say he then came back Saturday and opened fire. WRL's Monica Casey tells us what else we've learned.
The rain is not stopping members of this community from showing their support for victims of that shooting Saturday night, with flowers, candles, and artwork laid here to honor those victims, some of whom officials say were from out of town.
I'll say, well, that's the last place you would ever expect something bad to happen, but this truly is one of the last places.
The view from American Fish Company is peaceful, with a dock looking out over the water.
This is a happy place. It has wonderful bands, people of all ages.
But the sound of live music on Saturday night was drowned out by gunshots when a man on a boat opened fire. Trip Brooks was supposed to be in that crowd, but stayed home that night instead.
And all of a sudden, my phone started going off. Most of my friends and family thought that I was here.
I was really hoping that my parents weren't there.
David Norton's family also goes to American Fish Company frequently. While he says the shooting is shocking, the outpouring of support isn't.
Everybody's friends and family, and everybody supports each other here. And
8 people were shot, 3 are dead, and 5 still hospitalized. Nigel Edge was arrested that same night, given no bond during his first appearance today. Prosecutors say Edge suffers from significant mental health issues. During his press conference, we asked Governor Stein about the crime bill currently on his desk.
Democrats push for there to be a red flag law component to that. Do you think that would have made a difference here?
I don't know the specifics of this gentleman and whether there were people in the community who were concerned enough about his erratic behavior to have triggered a red flag law provision. I think it's a good idea.
In Southport, Monica Casey, WREL News.
All right, so you heard that right there. And the only reason I know about Southport, and I think I forgot who it was that I told. I said the only reason I know about Southport is because of that movie I Know What You Did Last Summer. Because that's where the movie, well, at least the original one, took place at. And that's why when I saw it, I was like, oh, and then when they said like fishing and stuff, that's kind of like how the movie was set up, the setting of the movie was. What got me when I heard about this is that this guy literally did a drive-by or a float-by on a boat and pulled this off. I said, what in the GTA is going on here? I literally thought of Grand Theft Auto Vice City, because I think there's a mission in Vice City where you're doing a mission where you're trying to take people out while on a yacht or something like that. So I'm like, this guy did a float by, not a drive by, but a float by on a boat. And I'm not trying to make light of it, but my goodness. And then, of course, they had to throw in the usual thing. Oh, he must have had a mental illness. I almost said something in the middle of the audio, but I held back. KG said that'll be a mission in 6. Oh, I have no doubt about it, especially since it's supposed to take place again in Vice City, which we know is really an offshoot of Miami. But yeah, like a dub on dub crime is, and I had told somebody this. I had said ever since what happened with Charlie Kirk happened, notice that you're hearing a lot of these type of stories more now. It's like to the point where you're hearing about it more often. It's not to say that it doesn't always happen, but at one point they didn't talk about it, but now you're hearing about it like every day now. I can't even say every other day. I had said to myself after the third one, I said we got a couple more weeks left in the month. I wonder how many more we're going to hear. Who would have thought we would have heard about 5 more, including this one? So there's that story right there. Now, this story right here, I don't think got as much traction as it should have. And somebody mentioned it in the story, not in the story, in the chat earlier if I was going to talk about it, but I didn't want to say that I was because I was already going to mention it. About this individual whose name is Caden Speight. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, but I know his first name is Caden. Florida teen in MAGA hat shot himself in elaborate abduction hoax, blaming Hispanic men. Sounds a lot like the French actor. Let's get into it. A Florida teen feared to have been kidnapped by 4 Hispanic men last week actually faked his own abduction and even shot himself in the leg as part of the painful, elaborate hoax. Caden Speight, age 17, was feared to be in grave danger when he suddenly vanished in Dunedin, north of Tampa, last Thursday, with cops initially believing he could have been the victim of a shooting. His disappearance triggered a desperate search and an Amber Alert after authorities uncovered his abandoned car with evidence of a single gunshot close by the Marion County Sheriff's Office. And by the way, this is him. He looks like a Temu Tom Holland. Speight, who was reported to be wearing a MAGA hat at the time, was believed to have been last spotted in a light-colored van with 4 unidentified men, authorities said at the time, apparently relying on details the teen had texted his family. I think I'm getting my theory here, but I'll go into that when I get near the end of when I get to the end of the article. Law enforcement searched for the teen overnight with a helicopter and checked local hospitals to no avail. Speight's distraught sister, Bailey Speight Clark, even posted an impassioned plea on Facebook for her brother's return. And this is a picture right here with him with the bike. God, I just want him home. I can't eat or sleep or do anything not knowing where he is and if he is safe. Please don't stop searching or looking. She wrote, there is still little to no information on what happened or where he could be. I don't understand why this has happened. Just bring him home. Speight was eventually located on Friday, and now authorities have said he was never actually in danger and has made it all up in a very twisted hoax. And this is the Amber Alert that they have right here, like, his name when he went missing, his age, his gender, his race, all that stuff. The initial details that Caden texted to his family were proven to be false, completely made up. We did find evidence of a single gunshot where Caden left his truck. However, his claims that he had been shot and abducted were quickly disproven. The teen is believed to have fled on a bicycle in the moments after he claimed to have been kidnapped. He also purchased a tent and camping supplies. Oh, he really planned this out to continue the ruse. Caden, who had a handgun with him since the beginning of all this, chose to shoot himself in the leg, causing a non-life-threatening injury just prior to walking out of the roadway where he would be located by citizens in Williston. There is zero chance that Caden's gunshot wound came from any type of assailant. It wasn't immediately made clear if the teen would be facing charges over the ruse. Oh, he better be. Why is there a guess of whether or not he's going to face charges or not? Did y'all hear that? They don't know if he's going to face charges or not. If they can get Jussie Smollett for that crap he did, they better get him for this. Now, here's what I think, especially with what they said he had on. They said he had a MAGA hat on, and he said that he was kidnapped by 4 Hispanic men, and we know how they feel about with illegal immigration and all of that. And he said he shot himself in the leg. Turns out that he didn't actually get kidnapped. He shot himself. He was wearing a MAGA hat. He was trying to rile up that side to get something kicked off. Just like when you had Cam Higbee and that other clown go to TSU wearing the MAGA hat and tried to, they were claiming they were there to debate, but we know they weren't there to debate. They were there to rile them, to kick something, to get something popped off, much like what he was trying to do. I wonder what MAGA got to say about this. Of course, that's a rhetorical question because I know they're not saying anything about it. They're still hanging on to about what happened nearly a month ago. Exactly, Don P. That was a false report. There could have been casualties because of what he did, the stunt that he pulled. I'm just trying to figure out, did he actually... This is another rhetorical question. Did he actually think he was going to get away with it? The answer from him would probably be yes. Don P said he was looking for the give, send, and go. Oh, definitely. He was going to try to see if he could find a way to get some money out of them people. And you know what's so crazy? If he would have got far with it, they would have emptied out their bank accounts for him. That's the wilder part about it. They would have did it because we've seen him do it before. As a matter of fact, I have a live planned for this upcoming Monday, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. Let's move on to the next story that also involves probably the most tragic of all of the shootings that we've heard about in the last week or so. The one that happened in Michigan at the church. Let's check this out.
In Grand Blanc, Michigan, authorities searching for a motive in a horrifying mass shooting at a church set ablaze.
We have an active shooter of the church. The building is also on fire.
Authorities say 40-year-old Thomas Jacob Sanford crashed a truck into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints during Sunday worship and immediately started shooting at parishioners with an assault rifle.
We heard a big bang and it blew the doors in the church, and then everything after that was chaos.
Adults rushing to shield children from the barrage of bullets. Authorities say Sanford then poured gasoline in the church and set it on fire. Two senior U.S. law enforcement officials briefed on the investigation, telling NBC News as many as 3 improvised devices were found at the scene. They say it's not clear whether they were incendiary or explosive devices. This morning, investigators say at least 4 people are dead and 8 others injured. Authorities later vetting bomb threats at other area churches.
This act of violence has no place in our state or anywhere else in our country.
Authorities say Sanford, who lived in the area and according to an NBC News review had no criminal history, died during a shootout with police. So far, his motive or potential connection to the church unclear. Sanford was in the Marines from 2004 to 2008, the Marine Corps confirming he was an Iraq War veteran. Overnight, SWAT teams searching his home for clues. President Trump Sunday posting about Michigan, writing in part, "This appears to be yet another targeted attack on Christians in the United States of America." Michigan's Governor Gretchen Whitmer writing, "Violence anywhere, especially in a place of worship, is unacceptable."
Never have I ever heard of anything happening like this ever in my life.
I have to stop it right there. I didn't mean to pause it right there, but this guy sounds disingenuous. You never heard of anything like this in your life? Let's go back 10 years to what Dylan Roof did. Granted, the church wasn't set on fire, but he went in there and slaughtered 9 people.
I'm completely distraught.
And authorities this morning not naming any of the victims. It's worth noting NBC News reached out to the parents and the wife of the alleged shooter. So far, no response.
All right, so you have that right there. And of course, you know, the usual suspects online are going to try to do the left, this, right, that thing. The thing is, they're fighting an uphill battle with that one because people ended up finding pictures of this guy wearing like Trump paraphernalia, like the hats and the shirts and all that in the third. So that got shut down instantly. And you saw what Trump wrote as a statement. Listen, they will never, ever ever call out white on white crime. I think we have to come to accept that they're not going to do it. They will deflect and call it anything else but that, but they're not going to call it that, to which we know what it is. Yes, this guy drove into that church and it set it on fire. Y'all saw the fire. The church is pretty much done. They're going to have to rebuild that. And then proceeded to go and shoot people after the fact. Like, he made sure he wanted them gone. That was a targeted attack. Reggie said, I'm scared. What TF can we do? First off, don't be scared. I don't know if you listened to Professor Black Truth or not, but he said something about having your power tools. Yeah, you might want to do that. So yeah, that's crazy right there. But yet another one. When was this posted? September 28th. Last week. Crazy. So the next story we have is going to involve Terrence Crawford. Now, I think most of us in here probably know who Terrence Crawford is, whether or not you watch boxing, but he is definitely one of the more popular boxers out right now. I think he just declared retirement, and he was given a parade in his honor in his city of Omaha, Nebraska. As a matter of fact, I think this is the second time he got the key to the city, and they had a parade and everything for him. And it also happened to be on his birthday. Now, what should have been seen as a great time and a celebratory event ended up turning into an almost near life-ending nightmare for Terrence Crawford, because when he was driving around he was driving at night, and all of a sudden he got pulled over by a cop for whatever reason, and the cop pulled his gun out on him and aimed it right at him as if he was going to shoot him right in the face. No reason. A lot of people said maybe he was a Canelo fan. I don't know. But this is why we always tell people it doesn't matter how successful you are, how much money you have, or whatever the case is. White supremacy is still in full effect. And if you are successful, you are a direct enemy of it. So let's get into this. Omaha Police Chief Mayor give update on internal investigation into Terrence Bud Crawford's traffic stop. Omaha Police Chief Todd, I can't pronounce that last name, and Mayor John Ewing Jr. gave an update Friday on the internal affairs investigation into the recent traffic stop of boxing champion Omaha native Terrence Bud Crawford. It comes one day after Ewing held a news conference where he addressed the issues the community has raised since the traffic stop that happened the night of Crawford's victory parade in celebration. Crawford was stopped at 12th and Capitol for allegedly driving recklessly. The chief said radar was not recorded, but they believe Crawford was speeding more than twice the speed limit. The Omaha Police Department said the officer noticed a gun by Crawford's feet, so the officer ordered everyone out of the vehicle at gunpoint. Police confirmed all four of the individuals were allowed to carry guns, and they cited Crawford for reckless driving. The officers involved in the incident were identified as Mason Gregorick and James Valencia. Mason has been with the OPD for nearly 6 years, while Valencia has been with the department for 2. Police said all available camera footage has been reviewed, and a timeline of events that lasted about 2 minutes was revealed, although the entire encounter lasted for about half an hour. And this right here is the timeline of it happening. It says the investigation continues. Police said 3 of the 4 occupants in the car, including Crawford, have been given the opportunity to interview in person or by phone. Crawford has still not been interviewed due to travel. The 4th occupant has not been able to be contacted. The chief said Crawford and the other 3 passengers all acted respectively and compliantly during the encounter. He also said the rumor that Crawford and his chief of security were intoxicated at the time of the traffic stop is 100% false. Ewing said Thursday he wants to look at how officers react to traffic stops involving weapons, since Nebraska's permitless concealed carry law allows those 21 and older who can legally own a gun to carry the firearm without a permit or gun safety classes. Ewing also said the city is looking into community partnerships for mediation and on education on what to do during traffic stops. Well, they need to have that for the cops, because it sounds to me like they was fishing for something. And let's hypothetically say that he was speeding. That does not require the guns to be pulled out on him, especially if he lawfully was able to have one. Open carry state, but they saw 4 black men in that car. Excuse me. They saw 4 black men in that car, and they happened to see a firearm, and they just knew they had to act accordingly in their eyes, because by that alone, they saw that they thought that was a threat. Caden Bad Guy says, very convenient how they weren't able to record the speed. Exactly. You said he was recklessly driving, but you don't have it on the radar scanner of how fast he was going. Yeah. And I guess we're supposed to just take their word for it, I suppose. And speaking of words that we should not take seriously and people who are blatant liars, and people already brought this up in the chat, we're going to go on to this last story, because initially the Terrence Crawford one was going to be the last one, but this one just popped up, and I said, let me go ahead and incorporate it in here today. Let's talk about this Keryan Lacey story. I think there's a video attached to this. Hold on. Let this ad play out, because many of y'all was bringing up about Keryan Lacey. I just didn't want to say it because I already knew that I was going to talk about it. And this story is so sad, but it also talks about the realities of what it is to be a black man in America. I mean, especially a young black man that's on his way.
Despite Lacey's death in April, Ori hasn't stopped trying to exonerate him from allegations he caused a fatal crash in Thibodaux that took the life of 78-year-old Herman Hall.
Was a great man with a loving family.
State police charged the wide receiver with negligent homicide after they say his actions of illegally passing cars caused another car to fatally impact Hall's car as they swerved to avoid Lacey.
I've got everything. I've got every piece of evidence I have viewed. I've examined every piece of evidence.
Ori appeared on a segment on HTV with host Martin Foles to discuss what he found in the Lafourche Parish District Attorney's investigation as compared to the original state police investigation. The conclusion of the DA's report was that Lacey was not responsible for the wreck. Ori also shows surveillance video of the crash.
In the top left of the screen, you're going to see multiple cars just making their way south to Thibodaux, coming from Vacherie. At some point in time, you're going to see the collision, which we're going to know is vehicle number 2 from oncoming traffic colliding with the vehicle of Mr. Hall. You will see another vehicle come to a stop, and then you'll see Keryan Lacey come to a stop.
The video provides key insight that was previously withheld, according to Ori.
At the time of impact, he's 72.6 yards behind the vehicles at the time of impact. Keyword, behind the vehicles. That is not how this story was ever painted. Never.
But perhaps the most concerning of Ori's findings, this interaction recorded on body cam of a state trooper getting a witness statement.
Okay, just make sure you add in there that you had to slam on your brakes, and the brakes, like, you had to slam on the brakes to avoid that charger, and the brakes locked up to avoid that charger.
But then you hear Gold Truck, the witness who's the Gold Truck, what he says. And he says verbatim.
I ain't skid mark or nothing. I wasn't even going for it. That lady in the back of me, she didn't know what was happening. That's how she called that record. She was running in the back of me. She pulled on the other side.
I didn't skid marked or nothing because I wasn't even going that fast. That lady in the back of me, She didn't see what's happening. That's how she caused that wreck. She was going to run into the back of me, and she pulled into the other side.
Both Ori and the district attorney's office say the trooper coerced the witness into blaming Lacey, despite that not being his recollection of events.
This is when I learned about this, because this is brand new. This update that y'all just heard just came out yesterday. The sad part about this is that Kyron Lacey was completely innocent in all of this. And he ended up taking his life one day before he was set to go before a grand jury because of all the turmoil he was dealing with online. Like, people was bullying him and saying he was a killer, and probably a whole boatload of worse things after the fact. Now, what's crazy is that this was back in April when he did it. What else happened in April? Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf. So an innocent man took his life because of the pressure of the bullying that he was dealing with on social media, and it was all a lie. This cop right here deserves to not only be fired and terminated from their job if they're not already, but they need to face the family, and they need to pay a hefty fine, and they need to go to jail in any particular order. They coerced the witness into telling them, or a written statement, that Kyron Lacey was the one responsible for that crash that led to the death of that man. When they showed right there on the camera footage, he was nowhere near them when the crash even happened. He was still driving up. And people want to sit there and say that white supremacy and anti-black racism is not around anymore. You just saw it happen right there in real time. That is crazy. So young, had a bright future too. If only he would have waited just one more day. And that's also why they tell people, like, if you're in a situation like this, don't get online, don't get on social media. I mean, look at the optics. The optics was there. You have this young black man who was accused of killing this older white man in a car wreck. Of course, the usual suspect. I can imagine what they said. It's sad either way around. But anyway, y'all, I'm going to drop the link if anybody would like to come up and speak towards any of the topics. I'm kind of on a time restraint today, so I do have to time it. You know, usually on Saturdays, I don't put the timer up, but for today, I have to. So if anyone would like to come up and speak, feel free to go ahead and click the link, and y'all can go ahead and speak your mind to these particular topics. I don't think y'all got to worry about Wallow jumping up on the panel first today, because he wasn't in the chat all day, so he might be at work. And my apologies, like I said, for like the notifications. I know a lot of people said they got the notifications like really late, but I don't know why or how that even happened. That was completely out of my control. Denzimas, what's going on?
Oh shoot! I actually got on first for once.
Yeah, Wallow's not in the chat today.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna just say this. So I don't know if you talked about that other situation, because YouTube's piece of crap behind didn't notify me to become live. But anyway, that Trey Reed situation. Did you talk about that?
I didn't talk about it because I don't have any complete concrete evidence about that second autopsy. I know a lot of people about that. That's why I didn't talk about it.
Okay, yeah. All I was gonna say about that is, I'm glad that Colin Kaepernick did what he did to get the second autopsy.
I did talk about
Because
that. I did talk about that last week. I think, about that part. I didn't like.
okay. Okay, well, shout out to him. And then, but as far as this, the last story that you said about the football player, I'm gonna just say this. Maybe you heard about it. Historical white B. That's all I'm. That's all. That's for the most part all I really want to say. Another white woman done lied on this damn child. Apparently, when you get the chance, just please look into that. And yes, I do think that not only these cops should be in jail, the white bitch needs to be in jail too. Because I'm tired of their asses. I really am. Too many of our people have died because of their asses. And I'm gonna just leave it at that. B1.
B1. Shout out to Denzimus for coming up. Jonathan, what's going on?
What's going on, man? Terrible. Sad news about that. That young lady. That go to U of H. I knew some people that went there. That used to go there. So, I am upset that they're trying to make this a suicide. And honestly, but believe it or not, man, it sounds like it may be a serial killer here in Houston, and they're trying to like claim that it's not, because it's like there's 16 dead bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where those bodies would be at. I don't know who are those bodies identify, but I'm concerned they could be African American. And it's like I said, like we were trying to figure this out one day at a time, but there definitely needs to be some action being taken. We got somebody in the office that we voted that we trusted to protect us, and they're not really doing a good job. But they claim there's no serial killer. So, and I'm kind of tired of nothing's not being taken seriously. Tired of us. Tired of everything. Like everything that happened to us, it's not a concern. I'm just tired of not being mattered. I'm trying to be patient with these folks, but they keep making it harder every time. So all I could say is, like, in the future, hopefully we get this guy, and hopefully we don't have to hear hear nothing about another body being found in Houston. Hopefully they'll catch the guy as soon as possible. That's mostly all I have.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead and let my plan there because I gotta finish the rest of my work. I'll see you later.
All right. Thanks for coming up. All right, shout out to Jonathan for coming up. KG, what's going on?
Curry gold in the can. What was the through line of your live today?
What's that?
What is the through line of your live today?
You mean it was a common theme?
Yes, sir. It might have been unintended with you.
It must have been because I wasn't going for a theme.
Accountability.
Okay.
How come MAGA ain't and the right have not said anything about that boy down there? That should be accountability, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this political climate, you out there doing hoaxes. Why is they not yet saying he need to go to jail?
We know why.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, when I first learned about the story on the account, it wasn't that much engagement until I saw it on I think it was the New York Post when Nate posted about it, and that, of course, because it is them, they will of course gravitate and get all that engagement.
Mm-hmm. Then you got homeboy up in Michigan. Why didn't they say accountability?
We know what. Listen, we can't even get them to say white on white crime, so they ain't going to do nothing about no accountability. But they love to throw that accountability label on us.
Right. They talking about more about Mormons than solutions to fix white on white crime.
Mm-hmm.
Nigel Edge, where's the accountability? They went straight to mental illness. But these
I said double known crime is kicking the ass right now.
Oh yeah, but these were the same people a month ago saying that transgenders should not have guns.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Boy, next year is gonna be fun, no?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's all I gotta say, man. Enjoy your day, everybody. Enjoy your day, and be productive.
Appreciate you coming up.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to KG. Next up, we got Cosmic Fury. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
The Kyron Lacey thing, that really bothered the hell out of me for the simple fact that I work in the medical field, and a lot of our calls are for people who truly got emotional issues, and the fact that and be contemplating taking their life. They need to be heard. They need to be taken seriously. And the fact that he was set up, and how, I mean, let me ask you something, Torian. How comfortable you have to be with your stance on being dubbed as to know that you're being recorded and you still are coerced?
They are very comfortable. I mean, the fact that he said all of that to that witness and told him to write this down with that camera on. I mean, like, you know how at one time they try to be discreet with it and they will turn the camera off. Nowadays, they leave the camera on and just don't give a damn. Because it's the thing of feeling like they're invincible or untouchable.
That right there, really, that bothered me. That on top of this young brother taking his life, that right there had to be one of the worst things I've seen about the whole thing. Is that it's just the sheer boldness and disregard of a life like that just because of who he is. Like, I gotta calm down. All right, thanks for having me up. Thank you.
All right, shout out to Cosmo for coming up. Don P, what's going on?
What's going on, F? Cosmo gave you his professional perspective. I'll give you mine. Y'all know my background, so we don't even have to go there. That motherfucking cop, that motherfucker needs to go to jail for manufacturing evidence and coercing witnesses. And that witness, he needs to go to prison. I don't care that he's a black man. You lied on another black man. You lied on another black man when you knew the truth. Now here's the fucking truth. A goddamn white woman caused that accident. And that's why the fucking cop was like, okay, so the charger did this, the charger did that. Write that down. Don't forget that shit now. The charger did this, the charger did that. Because a white woman was driving that other fucking car that caused the accident. Stay away from them cockroach snow bitches. And I'll land there.
Appreciate you coming up. And Don P brought up a good point. The guy, the witness, he didn't have to write down on that witness statement that Kyron Lacey was the one responsible. He could have easily said this isn't right and this was wrong. Like, you could have had a conscience to not write that. So I do agree with Don P in that part, in that regard, because he shouldn't be let off the hook either. Because this could have been he could have been the determining factor of getting Kyron Lacey off the hook if he didn't write that down. And then on top of that, it was recorded on that body cam footage. So if they tried to come at you later with something, you had evidence to or something to back you up if it got to that point. Because all of it was going to eventually come out eventually. So yeah, I do agree with Don P in that part right there, that there should be some consequence for that witness. Because you didn't have to lie, because you basically lied. You did, and you knew the truth. But I think Don P is probably the last person to come up and speak today. Shout out to everybody that came through. I know the notifications was kind of janky today. I don't know why in the hell that was, but we made it work regardless. But shout out to Stolen Ancestors for that $100. I definitely appreciate that. And shout out to Zaina for the $5. I appreciate that as well. Make sure y'all pay attention to the community tab at 4 p.m. Eastern time, because I'm gonna have a special announcement at 4 p.m. Eastern time relating to a live that I'm doing tomorrow. It is a live that many of you have been wanting me to do maybe like the last couple weeks now. I'll put it like that. Because, I rarely go live on Sundays unless it's True Crime Sunday. Sunday's usually my free day, but this was a day that I said, let me do this now and not let it drag out and happen another day. So make sure, again, y'all pay attention to the 4 p.m. post that I'm going to make on my community tab today in relation to a live that I am doing tomorrow. That's all I'm going to say. When y'all see it, I'm sure y'all are going to be like, okay, we here for it. But anyway, y'all, we about to go ahead and shut this down. This is another weekly recap in the books. Of course, the next weekly recap will be on this upcoming Saturday, and that will be at regular time at 4 p.m. And like I said, tomorrow we got a live at 4, and then we'll be back to our regular scheduled program on Monday, per usual. With that being said, y'all enjoy the rest of your your Sunday, the rest of your Saturday, and I will talk to you in the next one. Be safe, and most importantly, be one.